Hi folks, look at this headline that recently appeared in a Japanese newspaper. It was an article about some Japanese students visiting a memorial in Hiroshima, a memorial to the dead as a result of the United States dropping an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. There's a similar memorial in Nagasaki for the same reason. I bring this up because when I saw that, it reminded me of a correspondence I had with a gentleman in Japan who we correspond with regularly back and forth. And he had asked me, do you think that the United States should apologize for dropping the 2 atomic bombs on Japan? And quite bluntly I responded, no. Alright, calm down, get your fingers off the keyboards and listen. I explained to him as I'm about to explain to you, in part. It was war. The purpose of war is to destroy as much as the enemy as possible and to cause as much destruction as possible upon the enemy. It's a sad reality of life that that's the purpose of war. That's why we try at all costs to avoid going to war, but war results as a failure and a breakdown of diplomacy. During the Second World War, there was an American general named General George Patton. And he said, and I'll paraphrase, that you do not win a war by dying for your country. You win the war by letting the enemy die for their country. Quite simple. We had another American general during the American Civil War, William Tecumseh Sherman. He said that war is hell. And when he inflicted war upon the Confederacy, he made sure that the people there knew that war was hell. His reasoning was to make war as horrific as possible so the enemy, once subdued, will not want to go back to war again. When we dropped those 2 bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it was after 2 battles that took place previous in that year, Iwo Jima and Okinawa, which resulted in the deaths of thousands, mainly on the Japanese forces. The Japanese in Okinawa, the casualties were almost the same amount as the troops they had on the island. They were fierce fighters refusing to surrender to the Americans. So we said to ourselves, look, the war is over in Europe, we're finished with that, let's get this over with here in the Pacific. But we also saw what happened in Okinawa, and we said to ourselves, invading Japan is going to be a bloodbath because they're going to have every man, woman, child, civilian, and military protect the homeland, as any nation should do. Protect yourselves against an invading army. But we knew the death toll would be in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions. In addition, the United States pretty much neutralized Japan's heavy industry, the war-making abilities, so the Japanese did not roll over and play dead. They moved that industry into little portions of it into the homes of the Japanese people, which in a sense made them a target. So now let's put aside the casualties that were going to take place. Let's put aside the war production capabilities in the individual homes and look at the third reason, the Soviet Union, the commies. I always said, folks, if you want to get to the bottom of any evil, there's a commie somewhere. The Russians were planning or about to invade Japan. So the Japanese High Command and the United States knew that once the Soviets got a hold of Japan, they were not going to let go of it like they did in Eastern Europe. So we had to bring that war to a fast conclusion so the island nation of Japan will be occupied not by the Soviets, but solely by the Americans and the Allies, leaving out the Soviet Union. We wanted democracy in Japan, not communism. Oh, one other thing, folks. The good friend that I have in Tokyo, who attends Waseda University, he wrote a very insightful article in reference to the behind-the-scenes activities of the Japanese High Command in the waning days of World War II, and as to the reasons for their surrender. I have a link to that in the description of this video. I would suggest you may want to read it to gain more knowledge. To my fellow Americans who have been the victim of a public school education in the United States within the last 30 years, I hope this video does not cause you to seek therapy, because you have heard the truth here where you have not heard that in the public school. Alright folks, I'm sorry to be so blunt, but listen, as someone once wrote, the tragedy of war is it takes man's best to do man's worst. Alright folks, we'll see you. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless the nation you happen to be in. See ya.